Girlfriend of 7 years cheated on me with some vegan. My question is why? My age is 32 years. On December 31, 2004, I met my girlfriend, we'll call her Joanne, 29 years old, at a New Year's Eve party. It was practically love at first sight for me. We just chatted for an hour, yet she stayed with me for weeks. I was seeing someone else at the time, and I was still thinking about this seemingly little chat I'd had with Joanne by the second week of January. I informed my current girlfriend at the time that things weren't going to work out. I didn't know whether I'd ever see Joanne again, but in that one discussion, I felt something I'd never felt before. It was a friendly breakup. I told her I liked her, but didn't love her. I attempted to find Joanne via friends and the like. This was before Facebook, and I had never used MySpace. I eventually obtained her phone number, and when I called, she stated she remembered me as well. We spent a lot of time together after I asked her out on a date. Another man in our social circle was interested in Joanne, so we took things slowly. We were evasive about our feelings and didn't even kiss until approximately a month after meeting. Our relationship took off like a rocket after that, and I'd never imagined feeling that way before. We were inextricably linked, and intolerable no doubt. We went everywhere together, and she liked what I did as much as I liked what she did. I never met a female who got so rapidly into skiing and surfing, and she loved it. I even got dancing lessons from her and learned how to do the samba. But it hasn't been all sunshine and lollipops, and I'll be the first to confess that we, like any other relationship, have had our issues. We split up around 3 years ago, but were never separated for more than 3 months. We've lived together as well as apart. Whatever occurred, I believed I had been the most rational, kind, and caring boyfriend possible. She became pregnant around a year into our relationship, and I stood by her totally. She claimed she wanted it and that she couldn't stop it, and I told her I'd be there for her no matter what. I took many weeks off work to be at her side after she miscarried. I assured her that I would be there for her no matter what. When she was forced out of her house because her parents had gone to Australia, I financially helped her until she was able to support herself. These were trying times. It was difficult for both of us, but I believe we matured as a result of it. I had the impression that going through all of this was a once-in-a-lifetime experience. So, on New Year's Eve last year, I proposed to her after bringing her to the location where we first met. It's a pub with a rooftop balcony. I told her that we should check to see if it was open before heading home at 2 a.m. She agreed, but when we arrived, she discovered it was no longer a bar. I was aware of this beforehand, and via my connections, I was able to contact the owner of the music store, who agreed to allow me use his roof. I took her up the fire escape and had the whole roof practically precisely as it appeared that night, which included hiring a giant fish tank and a lot of Christmas lights for PS 600. In the center, there was a table with 2 glasses and a bottle of champagne. I went down on one knee and asked her to marry me, and she said yes while crying. I've been working really hard for the last 6 months. I work in sales, and we have a potentially life-changing transaction that will make the business I work for millions of dollars over the next 5-8 years. I haven't stopped working my hard, and I've warned her it'll be difficult, but I'm doing it for us. If I get it, I promised her, we could have the wedding of our dreams. Well, the previous few months have been tense, but I finally closed the deal, netting myself a sizable bonus in long-term job security. I was on cloud 9, so I got tickets for Joanne and me to go away and celebrate. Because of my employment, my employer allowed me leave early yesterday, and I felt it would be the ideal time to surprise her. I snuck into the flower store and bought her a bouquet of white roses before going back home for a shower and to change out of my suit. I was driving to her home on top of the world in my white Merc. Work was great, the weather was lovely, I had the ideal surprise for her, and I couldn't wait to tell her. When I arrived, there was a rundown SUV parked outside that I had seen previously but couldn't place. When the door was unnaturally latched, the penny didn't even drop. I opened it and yelled her name, but there was music playing and I didn't get a response. I assumed she was in the shower and made myself a glass of water, as well as some water for the flowers. There was some cheap wine and 2 glasses in the kitchen. Then I heard the bed thud. My heart plummeted as I pulled everything together. I used to believe that the phrase "my heart sunk" was a metaphor, but I truly felt something sink within my chest. It was like riding on one of those theme park bungee rides. I was on the verge of dropping the glass. I went down the steps, and at the bottom were these destroyed old leather boots coated in mud. My face was flushed with wrath. I could hear him calling her as I headed up the stairs. I swung open her bedroom door. She was being in the "I'm at you." He was her behind. She sprang to her feet, and before I knew it, he was dressed. I recognized him when I glanced at him. It was this guy who operates a vegan cafe close to my house. We'd been there a few times, and she'd gone to a few of his parties with pals. He attempted to justify himself, but I simply ordered him to get the out of here immediately. The guy departed so quickly that he forgot to bring his cheap wine with him. I couldn't believe my eyes. She went over to touch, embrace, or otherwise interact with me, but I just flung her back down on the bed. I told her she was disgusting and left. I walked directly to my vehicle, and she followed me out, pleading for me to listen to her tale. I warned her not to contact me and threw my personal phone out the window. I have one at work. However, it is only accessible to coworkers. I went home, got in the shower, and sobbed. I still can't believe it. I weep more when I think of the connection. I sobbed thinking about the loss, then about my proposal, and then about the first time I met her. I didn't come to work today. I contacted my employer and told him everything. He's a wonderful buddy and one of just 3 individuals who knows. He's informed me that I should take a break from work since I've done more than enough in the previous year. He advised me to wait a week and then see how I felt. She had been banging on my door and phoning my landline, so I disconnected it. My buddy came by earlier after hearing about what occurred with my employer. Many of my pals are concerned. They haven't heard from me and are unable to reach me since I dropped the phone. Story 2. Should I expose an online stranger for cheating on his GF of a decade with me? Allow me to explain. Life was dull during quarantine in March 2020, so on Omegle, which I'm sure some of you have heard of. On there, I met a gorgeous, fascinating man whom I'll refer to as Mike. Mike and I had a really lengthy talk and connected right away. He then requested my Snapchat and, from there, my phone number. He informed me he was 23 at the time and I was 19. We ended up communicating on and off for almost a year, which included FaceTime discussions as well as FaceTime calls/texts. He never said too much, and after a period of developing emotions for him and him leading me to think we may someday meet, I conducted my own investigation and discovered he is really 27 and has a long-term girlfriend with whom he has lived for years. Needless to say, I was offended and horrified. I was quite nasty and dried him for the final several months of our conversation. Before I learned this, until he challenged me about it, I became irritated with him and personally attacked him till he became insulted and blocked me. When I eventually found out about him, I banned him on everything except his girlfriend's Instagram. I'd want to expose him, but I'm not sure how. I'm afraid he'll track me down and exact his vengeance. What is the greatest approach to expose him without revealing anything about myself? I feel mistreated, and I'd want to see justice served on his 90 fiancé. Edit. I got some useful information, but I just wanted to clarify a few points. In the first post, it seemed like I was mostly looking for vengeance from this person, and I can understand how that came out. But this is not the case. When I found out about all of this, I didn't expose him and wasn't even thinking about it, since I felt an overpowering sense of stranger danger. I was really astounded by how much was buried, and I wanted to put it all behind me. Then time passes, and my friends tell me that they're not sure why I haven't exposed him, and that if I were in her situation, I'd want to know. I agreed with them, but described the shambles that may ensue and conveyed how, after all of this, I simply want to protect myself. They told me that if I went through all of this to assist another lady, it would offer me peace. That's when I came here to get other people's thoughts on something that had become quite contentious for me. I am not a vindictive person. I was taught to turn the other cheek, and I intend to do so in this scenario as well. I'm obviously furious with him for disrespecting me, but he's not my kid, and the reason he did, this has nothing to do with me. I'm not trying to teach him a lesson. This issue has drained me. That's it.